Hey guys, welcome back. So guys, we are continuing our PHP solution series, and now guys, in this video we'll be learning how to edit our multiple selected options. Okay, select option values. So guys, as we have seen that in previous video we have inserted all these values and saved into a database, and now guys, with this data only we are going to edit. Okay, edit and update. So guys, now let's get started. So first let's move to our editor and create a file. Let's go back, create a new file guys over here with select option edit.php. Copy and paste. Okay, so guys, now let's open one new tab where I'll just copy this and paste over here and just change that select box edit.php. okay, what's the name we have given? Select option. Okay, so just copy that, paste it. Perfect. So now guys, let us begin. So let's go, let's copy all the codes because we are going to edit. So in previous we have done about adding it, so that adding only data we are going to edit. So we need to take all these codes. Okay, so let's Control A, copy, and Control V for paste. Yep. Now guys, let me just how to edit. Okay, multiple select option, refresh here on the second page. Okay, now guys, we have to get back to our this page and just create a two buttons guys. So if you click on that, let's create a tag where we will tell user 1, copy and paste user 2. Just design a button and paste. This will be the page name on this select option edit. Let's give the page name where question mark user ID is equal to 2, and for this also user ID is equal to 1. Okay, so this, with the help of this ID 1 and 2, in your case you will be having some table or anything. So in my case I am using this buttons. Let's get back. Okay, so from this let's click on user 1. If you click, you are moving to select option with the user ID 1. Okay, done guys. And now with this help of ID you are going to get all the stored user hobby list. Okay, so let's get back, and yep, let's go to select option table. So first step guys, on this hobby list we have to fetch all the user data. What user data? This user ID 1's stored records. So we have two record over here, user ID 1, which is 1 and 2. So let me close this, do not get confused. So we have all four details we have fetched now. As you can see, this is the code for fetching the records from hobby list. From this list we have inserted all the records, and now guys, let's fetch the data. So let's get back, open PHP, close PHP. We need the database connection, so let's take this connection first and then $query, not $query, we have to fetch, right? So let's tell fetch query, okay, is equal to select the ID. Let's see this column name, hob list underscore ID. Okay, so hob list underscore ID I want to get from that user hob list table. So my table name, user hob list, the stored data. Okay, where user underscore ID is equal to, inside single quotes you are going to give $user underscore ID. So from where are you getting this $user underscore ID is equal to with the get method. So you can just assign this ID. So this ID, it's user ID, so let's get that user ID and place over here. So guys, if you want to check the condition, like if this is there only, then only please come in. So you can just give if condition over here. If it's available, then you're going to check, or else no. Done. And now guys, let's execute this query. MySQL fetch query run is equal to with MySQL I query function dollar connection, your database connection, and then your fetch query, guys. Okay, all set. Let's for each loop to get the data. So your fetched result as dollar fetch row, okay, which we are going to store in one array. So this is your user hobbies, okay, is equal to your fetch row of what you are going to get, the hob list ID. So this column field ID, hob list ID, hob list underscore ID. All set, guys. So now we have to define, we have to assign this first. So you can just make an array and assign that, so it throws no error. So guys, we have all the data inside this user hobbies. So we are going to check with this user hobby variable inside our fetched query. Okay, so this is our fetched query, and inside this option only we have to work. So I'll just show you. First guys, let us just separate this so there might be no confusion, and inside this only we have to check the condition. You will tell use in array function dollar row ID. Okay, so your value, whatever value is there, that dollar row ID is present inside your hobby list. So this is the user stored record. So from that we are checking. If it's available, then you have to show as selected. That means it should be selected, else just leave it null, guys. Perfect. Oops, we have just given this square bracket. We don't need to give that. Just give your array values. Let's save, and now guys, let us test it. Let's check. Refresh. Perfect. So you can see, guys, with the user ID 1 you have 2 records inserted. So from this user hob list table we have 2 records. On the user ID 2 we have 3 records, guys. So let us check that. Let me just directly change from here. If I give 2, 3 datas are there. Perfect. So now guys, let us get back. Okay, so let's insert with the ID 3. I'm going to insert from the last 4 records also. I will insert with the user ID 3. Let's save hobbies. So hobbies inserted successfully, and inside database you can see that we have 4 records of the user 3. Let's edit and move to ID 3, guys. So you can see that 4 datas are present now. Perfect. So now guys, let's update this data. Okay, so we have successfully fetched the data, and now let us update this. So guys, first let's go to this user input where we will fetch this ID and show over here, and let's make this as update button. So first let's move to our input field. Okay, user ID, let's give value is equal to double quotes where PHP open and close, and you can use a if condition. So we need to start with if, PHP, where you can check with the isSet function where $_get method your parameter user ID is set or not. So you just need to check that. If it is set, then you're going to echo $_get method of user ID, so you will get the data and display it. All set, guys. So you can refresh, so you have the ID. Perfect. So let's move to button. So instead of save button, let's give update, and instead of save hobbies, give update this hobbies. Now let's go to the form tag to code.php with the method post. So let's move to code.php and let's begin, guys. Over here, use a if condition and check with the help of isSet function that the button is clicked or not of your post method. So this is update hobbies button. When it is clicked, let's get the user ID with the help of post method, where you will tell the input name attribute value is user ID and the select option is hobbies, that is your array. So let's get that, paste it here and tell this here hobbies. Done. So guys, now as simple, we have to get all the user editable IDs. Okay, I mean to say this user ID 3 has this 4 list, right? So this records we have to fetch. So guys, let's get back and let's copy from where we have write the code. So let's copy this and just paste that. Let's remove this get method, we don't require. Yep. So instead of user ID, we don't need this user ID will be sent over here. So instead of only single, we want to take all the fields from your stored user hobby list where user ID is done. So once it is done, you are fetching all the records. Now guys, main point comes to insert and delete. If the user deselects this and click to update, that time what happens? This 2 records of third user should be deleted and 2 should be updated. Something like that we have to do. Okay. So let's refresh and get back. If anything, insert newly added data. Okay. And delete added user data. Fine. Now guys, let's write the query for this. Use a for each loop. So guys, now let's get the user hobbies. So from the input, I mean when you update this, we have to take the update records. Okay, so edited records, we are taking this hobbies. So instead of hobby, let's make it as hobby input, so it will be more clear. Let's give hobby input, we are taken now as dollar input value. Okay, so this input value you are going to insert. So first you have to check before, like if it is not in array of what, your user hobby, or else you can first define this your input value comma your user hobbies you have inserted in your database. Okay, and now write the insert query, which will be for insert into which table, your new record you are going to update. So in this table only you are going to insert. So insert into table name and the column fields where values and your datas. Inside single quotes you are going to take the user ID first. Why user ID? Because here starts with user underscore ID and next value is the hoblist underscore ID, hoblist underscore ID. And now guys, in place of this you have to pass the value of your input values, this input value. Okay, your looped one we are taking and placing that. After this, let's execute this query with the help of MySQL query function, where your database connection and $query, I mean this insert query, this database connection is here. All set. So now guys, coming to delete one. So if the record is new, it will insert, else it will ignore that. Coming to second condition, same way guys, we have to just use loop. So let's use for each loop. For deleting the record guys, we have to take your user hobbies, the fetched user hobbies as $fetched row. Okay, where you will mention this in if condition, if record is present in array function, I mean just add not before this. If not means then only comment. So your user hobby row, I mean your fetched row, comma your input, the taken input. So let's get this and check. The selected input is not there means inside this, then you have to write the delete query. Query is equal to inside single quotes, where you will tell delete from the table name, from the user hobby list only, where user underscore ID is equal to single quotes. The user ID we are getting from the form itself, send that, and your hob list ID. So which hob list ID? This one, this column. Okay, user ID we took in, and now this hob list ID. Hob list underscore ID is equal to single quotes, where your fetched row, hob list fetched row. And now guys, you can just write the code to run this query with the help of MySQL query function. First database connection and then your $delete query. Perfect. So once it is done guys, you have to header location colon, I want to go back to the same page. So at this same page, so let's move to this same page where user ID is 3 over here. So by default, let's make it to $user underscore ID. Okay, let's type exit. If you want to show the message, just use session status updated successfully. If you are using session, make sure you start that session, and we are going on select option edit.php. Make sure your session is started and the code to show the message guys. Let's save and let's test it. So let's refresh. On the user ID 3, I want to remove football and basketball. We have two updates over here. So let's click on update, and okay, we are facing issue over here. We are getting a warning guys, that is invalid. Okay, I think this user ID is messed right over here. So let's go and change this first, and where it is, let's go to code.php. So this is the user ID. We don't need to give that single quotes, just remove that. So it's just a redirecting error guys. So we are on the ID 3. Let's refresh. You can see that. Perfect. So guys, we removed that two datas and we have left out two. It's updated over here. So let us refresh. You can see that user ID 3 is left out with two datas. So let's check out with the record 2. On the user ID 2 we have 3 data. Let's make it to single data. Okay, as you can see in database right now we have 3 output for the user ID 2. Let's click on update. Perfect, updated successfully, and you can see that guys, only one data is left out, and you can refresh. Cool. So we are having the single data. Now let's add once again. So I'm going to add one data and let's update. You can see updated successfully. Let's go to our database, let's refresh, and you can see ID number 2, user ID 2 is added one more with one more data. Okay, so guys, in this video that's it. We have successfully seen that how to edit the multiple selected options and update this data. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, like and share.